I made a pot roast last weekend for some friends and family. My sister has jumped on board with yet another one of my ideas, which this time is to host a mostly monthly Sunday dinner for our loved ones. A Sunday dinner, church let out style. You know, when people just come through and stop by as they can, eat a plate and hang out for a while, just taking in the slowness and fellowship that Sundays are supposed to offer. I decided that our Sunday dinners needed to be anchored in our Black Americanness and therefore feature recipes that have either come from our family's kitchens or from Black American cookbooks. My sister, who never seems to tire of my many ideas for parties, events, or even businesses, was more than down for it. She knows how much I believe in the power of community and gathering, and honestly, I just miss the ways our family used to gather. And so we set a date for our first Sunday dinner. I took my grandmother's copy of Patti LaBelle's 1999 cookbook, La Belle, Recipes to Sing About, when we sold my grandparents' house a few years ago. Our first Sunday dinner seemed like a great opportunity to cook from Patti's cookbook for the first time. Now, I did not grow up eating beef. I eat it now, but it was not something we ate in the house. But when thinking about something to make for dinner, something to feed a group, pot roast came to mind. I feel like Sunday pot roast is something I'd always heard about, you know, like one of those romanticized Sunday dinner meals you'd see on TV. And lo and behold, Patti had 2 pot roast recipes listed in her cookbook. I opted for the pass it on pot roast instead of the child, that's good cheap pot roast. Mostly because the pass it on pot roast comes with additional veggies like potatoes, carrots, and celery, making it more of a hearty meal, as the queen says herself. Since I'd never made a pot roast before, I felt it'd be best if I did a trial run before our actual dinner party, and Mother's Day seemed like the perfect day to cook for the family and get some feedback. And so that's what I did. And it was okay. The pot roast wasn't terrible, but it definitely wasn't great either. I took a few liberties on Patti's recipe, which I was going to do anyway. My mom, who's truly, for real, like truly an amazing cook, has always said that you can't follow a recipe and expect it to come out how you want it to. There will always be something that needs adjusting. You know, some communing with the ancestors that needs to occur. So my first deviation was to make my pot roast in a crock pot instead of the Dutch oven that Patti's recipe calls for, mostly because I already own a crock pot and did not feel like borrowing my mom's or buying one. However, I now feel like I'll very soon be changing that because a Dutch oven really is a staple that belongs in every kitchen. Anyway, even though I decided to use a crock pot, I for some reason still felt compelled to follow the recipe as if I was using a Dutch oven. This meant cooking the roast itself for a few hours and then adding the vegetables in towards the end of the cooking process. Mistake number 1. By the time I was ready to add my potatoes and carrots, I could tell my timing was going to be very, very off. My roast was looking very pot roasty while my vegetables hadn't even made it into the crock pot yet. I threw the potatoes and carrots in there anyways, hoping that 90 minutes would at least make them edible-ish. 90 minutes did not make them edible-ish. Now, me and my sister were aware enough to order plenty of other foods to have alongside our Mother's Day pot roast. So when I could tell people were ready to eat, I knew I had to serve the pot roast despite my reservations. And again, it wasn't terrible. The roast itself was pretty tender, but aside from the aromatics like the onions, none of the other vegetables were ready to eat. Patti's recipe only called for salt and pepper, and while I added some more seasoning like garlic powder, onion powder, and even liquid smoke, the dish still felt very underseasoned. Overall, we gave my first pot roast a 7, and maybe that was generous. So now it's the week of our first dinner party, and I'm not feeling confident. No one wants to serve food they know is a 7. I thought about making the pot roast again before our Sunday dinner, but I'm a teacher who's approaching the end of the school year. There was simply no time. My sister is very good at grounding me when I begin to overthink. However, she was on a well-deserved vacation up until the Saturday before our dinner party, and I was not going to bother her. So I was on my own, as Patti would say, to figure out what I was going to do about this pot roast situation. An old version of me would have been very anxious and panicked, but this new me just looked at the facts and my capacity for the week and calmly said to myself, "Self, We're just going to order other foods from the local soul food place we love anyways. It's okay if you don't cook this time. In fact, it's okay if you cancel. No need to force anything. People will understand. We talked and prepped a bunch of things before she left, but my sister texted me to check in while waiting for her flight back home. I told her my thoughts and my new plan. I even told her that ordering Italian could be another backup plan in case we were cutting it close with putting in the order with the soul food place. Sissy immediately left me several voice notes in protest. I really wish I'd saved them. Honey, what is this about Italian? Remember why you wanted to do this in the first place. For community. For the culture. I reminded her that the pot roast was a 7, and I don't want to serve food that's a 7. We can make it a conversation piece, she said. What do you think about the recipe? What would you add? We'll make it into a game. Rate the recipe from 1 to 10. What number did most people give it? Come on, you only get one inaugural dinner. I'd been convinced, and so I did it. I went out and bought all the things and made the pot roast. This time I put everything in the crock pot to cook at the same time. I also seared the meat in cumin, adobo, and chili powder, and made a gravy/broth that I poured over the pot roast this time. And let me tell you, the pot roast was so good. It really was. I surprised myself. It was tender, juicy, flavorful, comforting, especially with the mashed potatoes I paired it with. People had seconds and even took some home, so I knew the roast had graduated from a 7. We might even give her a 9. I thank God. My sister hosted our Sunday dinner at her place, and it really was such a lovely time. The sun was shining, people came through, ate, we played some games, and it was just so nice. It felt like how I imagined it. I'm so glad Sissy convinced me to make the pot roast. She really reminded me that our why is everything. Tapping into our intentions and the purpose behind what we choose to do can change our whole perspective. We talk a lot about the transition of power when it comes to our family meals. Like I said, my mom is an excellent cook. She really is. We've been spoiled. And so someone has to be able to take that torch, or that spoon, I'll say. Sissy's gift is definitely decor and atmosphere, and I already know and have accepted that preparing the family meals will belong to me. And with the pot roast success under my belt, I can say I feel ready to take on the challenge and give the generation before me a chance to rest and to simply enjoy Sunday dinner.